Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tonea Smith. This is Restore to Flourish, a Christian based podcast where we'll be talking about the restoring power of God. Today, I have Christopher King. And Christopher, I found you on Instagram and just was really inspired by your boldness in your walk. And I'm sure we'll get into that in a few moments. But
Yeah.
before we do, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. My name is Christopher Harrison King. From New Orleans, Louisiana. I am. I do a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So I'm an attorney. I'm a trainer. I'm an artist. I'm a poet. I'm just trying to use all the gifts that God has blessed me with and given me to just do everything that He's called me to do, right? Just in life. He's given me a whole lot of ideas that's like in the groundworks right now. So I'm just excited about what He has planned for me. Um, yeah, so went to Henderson State in Arkansas for my undergrad. That's where I pledged Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And then I went to Southern University Law Center, and that's where I got my law degree there.
What I don't know how what you categorize it as a field. Like what field do
Yeah,
you
what area of
practice in?
practice? Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was actually just a district attorney for a good amount of time, and then I also my dad has his own firm, so we do a lot of personal injury, successions, wills, family law, little criminal, pretty much everything. But our bread and butter is the personal injury.
Nice, nice. Well, Christopher, can you tell us about how you were introduced to God?
Yeah.
Like tell us when you actually established a relationship with him.
Right, right. Um, I've always grown up in the church. My mom's side of the family is Catholic, and my dad's side is Baptist. So I kind of had both experiences growing up. Right,
Yeah.
went to Catholic school, had that whole experience with mass and everything, but also had those Sundays, in the Baptist church. Right.
Mm.
Um, I can remember it was like maybe I was 11 or 12 or something like that. I was relatively young, and something happened. I think I did something bad, nothing crazy, but just being a kid, right? And you get into some
Yeah.
trouble. And I had a moment to where I just was like, you know what, God, like I'm just tired of making that decision, right? I'm tired of getting in trouble. I'm kind of tired of always, making the wrong decision. So like really right there, um, next to my bed, I just kind of gave my life to Christ, and I was like, you can have it, right? Like
Wow.
make the decision for me and stuff. Now I didn't really know the magnitude of what I was doing in that moment, looking back at it, but since that moment, it seemed like God has just been really directing all of my steps, right?
Yeah.
Now throughout that time till about junior year in high school, maybe senior in high school, that's when things started like really taking off, right? Especially when I got to undergrad at Henderson State. God surrounded me with some great men that are still in my life today,
Mm.
and he allowed me to, especially use football as, I guess, a catalyst to increasing my relationship with Christ, right?
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't that crazy talented with football and everything like that, so I knew I need something different, right? It wasn't gonna happen just because I'm just this amazing. And that's how that spark happened of me, waiting till marriage, me not drinking, not smoking, going to certain things. Like literally in undergrad, when I tell you every day of the week, we went to BCM, FCA, accountability group. Literally every day but game day, we was kind of getting into the word, like the group God surrounded me with. So I grew so much in undergrad
Yeah.
spiritually, and it really like flipped the switch and I got on fire for him.
How did you do that? Like, I can't imagine the amount of attention that you get in general from young women and the situations that are that you kind of have to face on a daily basis with just being in college where everybody's drinking, everybody has this newfound freedom.
Right.
How did you create such a level of discipline?
Honestly, I wanted to make it to the NFL. Like
Mm,
that's how it initially started. Like I was like, man, I don't run no 4.2. I'm not 6'7", right? I'm not a 5-star recruit. So I needed something that was going to give me the edge over all the other guys that are just crazy talented. So I was like, you know what? This is what I can do. Right. I can be disciplined. I can work out. And I worked out like 3 times a day consistently. Right.
wow.
And like I said, I was getting into the word too. And I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking, I wasn't having sex. And that really gave me the discipline um, to I guess, move like that, to live like
Yeah.
that, right? Now, as I grew in my relationship with Christ, I realized that the motivation is off, right? Because what if football doesn't happen, which it didn't, right? What if football doesn't happen? You're gonna just throw all this stuff away. So that's when I started changing the motivation. You know, like, no, God, I got to do this for you. If football happens, great, but and I wanted to, but I need to do this for you. And then at that point, it just became a lifestyle. So now I'm still, operating like that and moving like that. And it came from that disciplines I kind of learned from football into, denying temptation. And, hey, the crowd was doing all that. And God kind of created me to stand out, right? So I always would, even if it's just simple stuff, right? So even if it was like was wearing uniforms, I needed a little sleeve or I needed some different gloves. I needed something that was going to make me kind of stand out. Um, and I guess it was just that same way. It made it easy for me to be like, you know what, this is how I'm living. Look, if y'all want to live how y'all live, do it. But this is how I'm living. And I'm not ashamed about it at all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Chris, tell us about a time. Sorry, is it okay to call you Chris and not
Oh, yeah,
Christopher?
yeah, yeah. Most
Okay.
definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, Chris, tell us about a time where God created what seemed like havoc or chaos in your life,
Mm.
and how he saw you through that.
Yeah. I would have to say 2015 was probably the hardest year I've
Mm,
experienced thus far. The oldest person, my grandmother, my last person in that generation, she passed
mm,
in the beginning of the year. And towards like the middle of the year, the youngest person in my family, he was like maybe a couple months. He died in a car crash. My little
oh,
cousin.
wow.
Yeah. So I've experienced both of those two things with on top of the whole NFL dream, like just not happening, not working. Right. I had
Yeah,
to finally come to grips with it, and that was a hard thing to kind of let go of, right? Because it was something I
yes.
trained so hard for, something I sacrificed so much for, and I feel like God was like, no, like that's not my will.
Yeah,
Um, and I said it, and I said this prayer. I was like, God, if you're not gonna be in it with me, I don't want it, right?
yeah,
Now, which is a hard prayer because you, you might not get it, right?
right.
So just kind of experience with a bunch of other little things kind of thrown in there, but experiencing all those things in that one year was really tough, right? Because I had
Yeah,
to learn how to pivot, right?
yeah.
And at the end of that year, God was telling me, okay, I need you to go to law school.
Mm,
Now, mind you, although I have a bunch of family that are attorneys, that wasn't like something I wanted to do, right? Like it just
yeah,
wasn't. It wasn't really attractive to me. I just said it because it sounds good. It's a good plan. Oh, I'm gonna go to law school, right? But yeah, he was like, yeah, I need you to do it. So
mm,
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take the test. I'm gonna see if I get in. If it does, I was like, all right, got in X, Y, and Z, and just it's time to do it. So I
yeah,
had to really kind of die to myself. I say that a lot throughout that year and my process. Um, God has taught me how to die to myself,
yeah,
right? Die to my own desires, my own wants. Not that I don't want to make it sound like He just doesn't give us nothing we want,
right.
right? But that is not the initial. That shouldn't be the initial goal, right? Just because
Yeah,
I want something, I'm gonna ask God and I'm gonna get it. That happens sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't, right? It
yeah.
is ultimately His will. But really learning that lesson, right, from some things that you really want is pretty hard. It's pretty difficult.
Tell me more about that dying process. Like, because I can't imagine what it's like to want to be in the NFL. And I've heard this story like a lot where there are players who they keep getting rejected but they don't stop trying, like,
Yeah,
and because of that pursuit they eventually get it. Like, they may go overseas, and then, or not overseas, but they may do something in the interim, like in the waiting period, to keep their body in shape,
yeah.
and until they get that yes. When did you realize, okay, there's no use in waiting on this anymore, and how did you cope with that?
So it was. So I got after the NFL thing initially didn't work. I got a couple of tryouts with the Saints, the 49ers, the Giants. Nothing just stuck, right?
Yeah,
And after that, tried CFL, Canadian Football League tryouts. Nothing happened, right?
yeah,
Tried Arena League. Nothing really took off, right? I ended up getting drafted to a new league that they were kind of starting in that time. For like the
Yeah.
NFL was trying to start like I guess a D league for the NFL. And I got drafted to it, went on Twitter, all that. I was excited, and then it fell through, right? So going through all of those, I was just like, man, I'm not trying to spend my whole 20s and not get nothing from it, right? So me and one of my best friends, we had a conversation. He was like, "Yeah, man." He's a little older than me. He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep grinding for this. Keep going, keep going." And for me, it wasn't like I felt like I put so much work in. I was like, I don't want to just make it to the NFL and be like on a practice team or like be a special team. Like if I'm gonna do it, if we're doing this, I need to be like, not saying like the best ever or nothing, but I need to be like playing in the NFL, like and contributing and making a Pro Bowl here or something. Like I need to like this really needs to work, not just like oh I played special teams for a year or two and I made it. No, like I need to really make it in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to look back at my 20s and be like, well, Chris, you pursued this, but like, what do you really have to show, like, for your family and for your kids and for
Wow.
your future wife and stuff? So I was like, you know what? That's when the whole idea of like law school coming. I was like, well, at least if I do this, at the end of this, at the end of my 20s, I can be like, I got a law degree. I can practice law. I can at the very least create a certain lifestyle that my dad has created for me and my
Mm,
siblings, right? And I didn't want to look back and be like, man, I just kind of wasted all my 20s on pursuing a dream that was never in God's will from the jump, right?
yeah.
So I kind of had that moment. It was a stressful moment, right? I was crying, I was mad and stuff, but I was like, hey, let me pivot,
Mm,
because God, if this is what you have for me, let me pivot. And it was hard. Don't get me wrong, making that pivot when something you love to do is never easy. But yeah, I made the pivot and I was like, you know what, God, I'm gonna just trust you. And even then, to this day, like I'm still trusting him with it, right? Yeah,
mm,
I was a DA and yeah, I practiced law and stuff, but there's a part of me that's like, man, there's so much more I know you want in me, right?
yeah.
And I still don't know like exactly what the reason is he needed me to become an attorney, right?
Mm,
I think were seasons where I learned how to try a case and how to help people and stuff like that. But I think it's just like a building block, right?
yeah.
So we'll see. I'm still kind of walking it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to know like what do you think as you look back like in hindsight to you like I remember watching Stephanie Ike where she was saying she shared about how she's this amazing preacher now, but there were moments in her life was like God, if you could just give me a voice to sing, I want to sing like, but she couldn't. But
Mm-hmm.
when she realized God told her the reason I cannot elevate you in the music ministry is because you're not singing to worship me, you're singing for the I can't remember exactly how she worded it, but you're singing for the attention, for the amount of um feedback from people that you think these celebrity singers get. Do you see how now looking back, do you see how why God kept you away from that specifically? Was there anything that he gave you since leaving that?
You know, that's an interesting question because like from the jump, I mean, from as long as I can remember, the whole NFL, like, yeah, I loved the game and I wanted to, be an NFL player, but it was never for the sole reason of just being an NFL player. Like, I
Mm,
always was going in with the intention was like, man, I'm about to shake things up. I'm about to come in, be the virgin guy, to be this. I essentially was like, man, I'm going to be for lack of a better term, the black version of Tim Tebow, right? Like,
yeah,
I was gonna be that. I was gonna be, I guess Russell Wilson is that now, right? To a certain extent. So
yeah,
I was like, man, like I want to use this platform to change the culture, right? That was
yeah,
always the focus. So when it didn't happen, I was like, well, God, I thought this was the plan. I thought you was trying to like use me in this way. And then he was just like, you know what? No, it's a different way, right?
mm,
Um, Now, have I learned things from not getting it? Of course, most
yeah,
definitely, right? Just to able to have this conversation and understand, like you have to pivot, you have to die to yourself. The lessons that God taught me in that season are extremely valuable, right? That I'm
yeah,
still using to this day, right?
yeah,
From that experience, he's birthed books in me that I'm working on, right? He's birthing the ability to even act, right? And to be model and to kind of be in that industry, but without being in that industry, right?
Yeah.
But even law, right? Law is a form of, especially when you're out in court, it's a form of, to a certain extent, it's a form of like acting, right? Because
Yeah.
you gotta deliver certain things. You gotta know not to be timid or scared in the courtroom, and all those skills that God has taught me through football, I'm now able to use them in different aspects of my life, right? And
Yeah.
that's something I can appreciate. Money. Some days I still wish I could, play on the football field or whatever. But like, just looking hindsight, I can see the small things that he's like, okay, this is why I need you to do this in this season. This is why I need you to learn this. This is why I need you to learn this. The hard part is getting that while you're going through it, right? Versus
Yeah.
always looking back and like, oh, that's why you did it, right? Um, so being able to be like, counting it all joy, right?
Yeah.
Counting everything all joy. And I know that's so easy to say, but it's hard to like really do when you're in the moment, right? Literally one of my favorite scriptures is Philippians 4:12, right? Not 13, because everybody says, we can do all things through Christ and strengthen me, but the verse before when Paul talks about, man, I know what it is to be rich. I know what it is to be poor. I know what it is to be in chains. I know what it is to be in the palace. And I know how to operate in both of those situations, right? And I think in life, if we can learn how to do that, right? Learn how to operate in the highs of the highs and the lows and the lows, and understand that I can do it all through Christ. I think
Yes.
we become, I think we become dangerous, right? I think we
Yeah.
become a dangerous Christian, like when that happens.
Facts. Facts. Like I'm hoping eventually I can get it up and running, but in between airing episodes for this podcast, I'm doing small Bible studies, and it's so crazy. I literally just recorded a Bible study on Philippians 4 12 through 13, like
Yeah,
saying with that exact same concept of it doesn't matter how great things are, and it doesn't matter how bad they might seem, there's a level of contentment that you have got to have through it all. And if you
yeah,
don't, then you're going to face the ups and you're going to face the downs. But if you are keeping your eye on Christ and being wrapped in his peace, it literally doesn't matter what comes, because even the highs can be traumatic. Like
right.
even like having so much goodness come at you at once, if you're not healed from past situations, those highs can feel dangerous and they can feel threatening.
Right. I mean, I always say it every time. Like, I think even a blessing, when you get it too early, can be a curse. Right. So
Yes.
I always use the example of, like, so let's say your parents brought you a car at 10 years old, right? And
Yeah.
they gave you the keys and let you to drive it. And they give you a really nice car. That's a blessing. But too early, you don't have the responsibility, you don't have the mental compatibility, you don't have the physical compatibility to handle that blessing because you got it too early. So
Yeah.
therefore, you can go out, maybe kill yourself or somebody else, right? But if you get that blessing in the right time when you're 18, 19, 20, now you can use that blessing to one, bless so many other people's, but to use it in its capacity, right? So timing and perspective is everything. Timing and perspective is everything. And I think that's something that, again, he has taught me throughout my process as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Chris, tell us more about how God is flourishing in your life at the moment. Like I noticed, it's pretty obvious when you go to your Instagram page, you have a lot of followers and you have
I'm getting there.
um, promotions that you do now, and your art is taking off, and just the amount of exposure that you're getting, and tell us more about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 100% honest. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm ungrateful or anything like that, right? But Instagram is just that. Like social media is just that, right? It's a hard process, right? Because I'm actually transitioning to use all the creative and all the different talents that God has kind of given me, like more consistently, right? To
Yeah.
where I can make a living out of it. And it's such a difficult transition, right? Because now you have to literally step out on the boat, off the boat, and walk on faith, right?
Yeah.
Like because you don't know like when things are coming. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I can go get a regular job and be secure and do all that, but I felt so restricted when I did that, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm like, God, this is what you said. I'm gonna step out on faith, and I'm gonna walk with you, right? This is what you said. I'm gonna walk with it. So I think He also has allowed me to have cultivated those skills, right?
Yeah.
My creativity, from the TikToks to the brand ambassador to the modeling to the acting to everything, right? From the art, just to be more creative with it, right? And I've
Yeah.
been doing that, right? And in these, I call it the silent seasons, right? Is when you're overlooked and nobody's like really seeing you. People see me now on Instagram and stuff and like, man, you just look like you got it all together. You look like you're killing the game. And I'm like, man, there are so many years where like, man, nobody knew me, right? Like I was
Yeah.
overlooked. I wasn't the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. I was the last picked. My art wasn't taken like to where it was like, I won't say I was a nobody because I always had that confidence of like who I am and stuff, but it was just like God was hiding, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like I say it all the time, like David or Joseph, right? Those are probably two people I kind of relate to the most in the Bible. Just having to go through those silent seasons after God has anointed you and told you, hey, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And then now you got to go through the process of like, no, now go back to the field.
Yeah.
That man, like I feel like that's part of my life, right? It's like, nah, God, I know you put something in me. You told me you put something in me. I have random people come in and just tell me, hey, like this is inside of you. You're gonna do all these things, but now go back and wait. I'll
Yeah.
go back and work, right?
Yeah.
Even with my wife, right? Even with that process of waiting for my wife and can continuously prepare for her,
Hmm.
it's like, wait, right? Wait and just
Right.
keep working. Keep doing what I told you to do and wait, right? And that's a hard process. It's not an easy
Yeah.
process at all, right? Especially when, not that you compare, but you're not blind, right? You see
Yeah.
what's happening. You see how things are happening for other people and stuff. And you're like, man, that would be nice, but you got to grind. You got to
Yeah.
work at it. So he's been doing a lot of great things. But like I said, when you get the vision, you get so excited and anxious to a certain extent to see it happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that can distract you from the season you're in. So
Mhm.
that's why I always try to, for the last couple of years, just trying to be in the moment, try to be
Yeah.
focused, trying to be like, hey, what do you want me to learn in this moment, in this season, right? When that comes, when that vision comes, I'm gonna be ecstatic about it, and I can't wait. But I try my best, and I'm still human, to not to just focus on the vision he's kind of giving me, but throughout the process.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me so much of something I heard Chrisette Michelle point
Mm,
out in one of her lives. It's a passage out of Ecclesiastics where um like it says something to the effect of like sow seeds during the day and sow seeds at night because you never know what is actually going to produce. Like if you are not consistently sowing, then you I think the phrase was like you have idle hands, like, and
mm,
that's not you just never know what anything is going to come from. So it seems like you are literally living that out, like you're sowing in every single part of your life where God has blessed you, like when it comes to your art and when it comes to your ability to have intellect in your field. And it's just a blessing to see, like, for one, it's a blessing to see a young man with that much focus and discipline um ability to really hone in on every aspect of his life, but especially a black man.
mm.
And like, I don't know, it's just, I'm so grateful for this podcast because I get to highlight people like you. Like maybe nobody would have ever seen what it looks like to really want to go after something and you don't get it, but you still are persistent about serving God in every single thing that you do. So
Yeah.
just yeah, I
And
really
I think
appreciate you.
that's part of my purpose too, right?
Yeah,
I say this all the time, like God allows us, God, we ask this question why, right?
yeah,
A lot. I think everybody, if you've been living long enough, you're gonna ask God why at some point, right? And I came to the conclusion, right? It's two reasons, right? He allows us to go through certain things, bad, good, ugly, in between, right? To increase our dependency on him,
mm,
right? And or for somebody else,
Yeah.
right? So that you can help somebody else get through the same thing, or you can give them some type of advice. So my whole thing with my journey and my purpose is to show men especially, but black men especially, that man, you can do it this way, right?
Yeah.
Like you can be different. You can abstain from sex. You don't have to drink and smoke, and you don't have to be like everybody you see in the media. You can do it God's way and
Yeah.
still have the swag, still have the look, still have the body, still have the intellect, still have the confidence with
Yeah.
women, right? Still be able to talk and do poetry and do so many different things
Yeah.
and still say, you know what, this is the standard I'm living on, right?
Yeah.
And make it look good, right? Because I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like sometimes, in our Christian culture, like it's great, but sometimes we don't. It's just not attractive, right?
Mm,
To
yeah.
outside looking in, it's just like, I mean, that's cool, but it's like it's just not attractive. So my whole thing is like, not that God needs any help or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I feel like He's given me so many skills and opportunities and talents to make it look good too, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
We are literally on display, and you're right. Like, why not give the audience, or the world, if that's what you want to call it, something to be drawn to.
Mm. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So everything I do says in the word, right? Everything you do, do it for the glory of God. So
Yes.
all of it, the acting, the modeling, the this, the that, and I'm gonna keep it honest. I get a couple DMs every now and then of like people hitting me up. It's like, hey, you're a man of God. Why are you taking off your shirt? Why you're this? But I think it's important. One, I know there's a line. There's definitely a line, right?
Yeah.
Let me say that from the jump. But it's also important to be like, nah, man, like I take care of my body. God has
Yeah.
blessed me with this ability, and the work ethic to take care of my body. I want to like, no, look good mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Like we're thriving and flourishing on all aspects of life, right? Not
Yeah.
just you're great spiritually maturity, but take care of your body, or you don't have the swag, or you don't know how to dress, right?
Yeah.
All these little things, although they may seem insignificant, right? But they matter. I think they matter, at least to a certain extent, right? Not that you should, solely focus on that, but yeah, man, like just be creative with it, have fun with it, right? I don't think it's that deep for me,
Yeah.
right? So I just be having fun with it. I like looking good, right? Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Right. Right. Well, Christopher, I enjoyed talking to you today, and I just I didn't ask you to do this before we met, but if you don't mind, would you please pray us out right now?
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Yes.
God, we come to you today humbly, and we just ask that you just bless this podcast. God, bless the host. God, bless everything that she does. God, bless her hands, that they will thrive and flourish in everything that you have given her, the assignments that you have given her, God. Right now, you say in Matthew 18:19, where two or more touch and agree on anything in this earth, that it shall be done.
Yes.
So right now, that we touch and agree that this will just change lives, God, change lives and impact the people that it was meant to impact. God, we thank you for just this opportunity, this day of coming here and to experience this life. That we will be able to see miraculous signs, wonders, and manifestations of your glory, God, each and every day, God. God, we thank you for your blessings, God. We thank you for the struggles, God. We thank you for the challenges, God. We thank you for the process. We thank you for the process of becoming the man and woman that you have designed us to be, God, so that we would be able to represent you wherever we go and everything that we do, God, that we are ambassadors of you. So, God, we thank you, we honor you, we praise you, and we glorify you, God. May you just continue to bless over us and watch over us and protect us mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, guys.
Yes,
We will
ma'am.
see you next time. Bye bye.
All right, bye.